Hi, welcome to Texas Home with Mick Howell, your source for Red Pill Truth. I'm doing a story today that's going to probably raise some eyebrows, and I'm going to go ahead and try to raise some eyebrows, okay? Because, many of you probably learned that the President of the United States, Biden, and former President of the USA, Donald Trump, are, purposely weaning, they're weaning, they're weaning the federal government contracts from the prison. Now it's become a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and then and I am encouraging everyone around the world who looks at the United States as a land of the free to send money back home. You might want to rethink, to the people who want to send money back home, you may want to rethink your idea because you know what? Um, in the past, we had Hispanics from the South and or immigration people from the South send money back home, and it costs the, the economy a lot of money. And as a result, when they send money home to the to you know send home, I mean, you know, I mean, you got people who send money to back to the home countries that they're from. They're taking a cut. They're making a profit off of this. And many people over here, they depend on this. And I'm going to actually say this to help you open your eyes. And to those who actually translate from English to whatever language they speak, I implore you to tell them, look, you want to go to the United States and send money back home because they got jobs up here? Yes, they have jobs. Yes, we have jobs here. You go up here and you get hired, and you don't speak English as a preferred language. But yeah, when you get paid, you send that money right back across the border back home. Yeah, you know what? They're going to take a cut out of that. The private corporation is making money off of you. And guess what? The crumbs go to your family. Okay? Then, when your green card runs out, okay? When your green card runs out, okay? They arrest you. Then guess what happens? That final paycheck comes to you. You send it back home. They take a portion out of it, and then you get deported right back to your home country. Guess what? Where are you going to find a job here back in the United States with no more um, piece of paper saying you can work here legally? And then, not only that, you're going to owe taxes to the taxman, aka IRS. Guess what? You don't file income tax, they come after you. No, guess what? They're gonna file against you. They'll probably arrest you, put you in jail for failure to pay taxes. And then guess what? Now the prison or detention centers have become privatized, and they're making money with mass incarceration. I'll give you an example. The schooling back in the 90s when I was going, juvenile detention was rarely ever heard of. Now private companies are making money on juvenile detentions. That's ripping apart families. Did you know that? They're making money on that. They're ripping apart families. Instead of rehabilitating, they're making money off of inmates. And they treat inmates worse than caged wild animals. so to speak. Okay, well, again, all this stuff starts at home. Yeah, this should offend you. But what are you going to do about it? You're going to go to your little safe space and cry crocodile tears? Cry tears? Are you going to go to your safe space and cry tears? Huh? That ain't going to work. My stepdad once made the comment at one time, when a twig is bent, so grows the tree. You know what he means by that? A child with no discipline grows up into an irresponsible adult. Now, that's enough intro. Let's go ahead and dig into the, you know, it's a, let's go ahead, enough intro, shall we? And I'm going to go ahead and blow this up for you. I mean, they're making money hand over fist. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Really, I do. I get it. Everybody wants to cheer for their rights and what have not. I get it. I get it. Everybody wants rights for the immigrants. Everybody wants rights for them. I get it. Welcome to Jail Incorporated, how private companies are making money off of U.S. prisons. And I hate to break news to you all. This is a repeat of 1930s Germany. Did you know that? This is a repeat of 1930s Germany. And you know what? It is going to get worse. All right? Getting locked up is unlikely good for your health and terrific business for booming private industry supplying doctors and nurses into jails and prison. Many of those suppliers descended on Austin, Texas to tout their service directly to jail administrators at 35th Annual Jail Association Conference. Wow. And as trade fairs goes, one's a little macabre. Companies are lining up to market everything from jumpsuits to meal trays to masks to stop prisoners from spitting straitjackets or other full restraints. Once national anthem is observed by the AJA, chaplain-led prayer for jailers across the country gather. Austin Convention Center to get down to business, making money. And this is in this. I live in Texas. Okay. This is happening in my own state right here. How long prison will continue to be such money spenders could depend on who wins the race for the White House. On the campaign trail, Hillary Clinton vowed to end private prison, private detention centers. Oh, wow. They're wrong. Donald Trump on his calls for increased outsourcing of prisons. So that's going to save the federal government money on contracts. Okay? And you know what? How long will they? Okay, money spenders could depend on who wins the race for White House. Okay, Biden just signed an executive order canceling federal contracts for prisons. They're fixing to make money on inmates. Okay, now you can go do wrong and then turn around. They make money off you. They make money off your bad behavior, just like you know the other areas in the economy. I do think we can do a lot of privatizations, and private prisons seem to work a lot better. He said, this is the same thing that the Fuhrer in Germany said, 1930s, when they okay. Um, so guess what? They're making money in Islamic countries, manufacturing jumpsuits, underwear, um, deletion safety smocks in Pakistan, selling them in U.S. jails. Business is very good. This Muslim, he said that in this place, some of the 136 items his company fine cotton textiles produced for jails. Because crime is crazy, there's a lot of inmates. We're happy. A number of customers are increasing every day. And to those who wants to go out and want to play around and all, well, getting arrested ain't no big deal. You might want to rethink that model again. Because once they get their hooks in you, they got their hooks in you for good. And now there's a man I'm going to cover the story for. He has cameras illegally in his house looking at his bed and an ankle monitor sounding off, vibrate, waking him up in odd hours of the night, disturbing him, giving him PTSD and anxiety. You may want to rethink committing a crime unless you want to be hooked into this incarceration system and be monetized for these private business out to stick you with a tab. You might want to rethink this. Okay? You know what? Now, look at this. Now, back to the story. Jumpsuits in orange, red, blue, green, stripe, or full block color. Style's been fixed before my birthday. It depends on the prison. Red is generally reserved for the most severe risk prisoners. Costs vary from color to color. Orange is the cheapest because it's far most used. Blue is most expensive because of the cost of dyeing or coloring the fabric. Few rolls over pastels advertising guns, handcuffs, prison vans. Stacy Schultz, general manager of Humane Restraint, his company started selling leather restraints in 1876. Now sells a whole variety of items, includes helmets, masks, and handcuffs. And let's take a good look at this. Now this should just alarm you. International rate for incarceration. You look at this. United States hits number 1. 698 per 100,000 people are incarcerated. Second is Rwanda. Third is Russia. Fourth is Brazil. Australia is fifth. In China, which is next going to be the global superpower, it's got 119. In India, 30. And look at this. We have these deletion blankets, he said, pointing them out on display, saying there for people who can't be trusted with their own clothes, in case they might make a thing and and delete themselves. The most expensive item, full restraint bed, costing $3,000. Most popular items are spit bud mask, a preventive inmates from spitting at guards. If you take someone's ability to strike out, you have that for spitting them, and all they have to do is talk dirty about your parent, Schultz says. U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world, some 22.2 million adults were incarcerated in 2013. U.S. federal and state prison and country jails, according to Bureau of Statistics. States spend about $8 billion on health care, trying to keep the prisoners alive in an effort to cut costs. More state prison and county jails are adding health care to their growing list of services outsourced for profit companies. Guess who's paying for this, y'all? Guess who's paying for the health care? The taxpayers. There's no centrally collected data on prison healthcare privatization, but Dr. Mark Stern, an expert on correctional health at the University of Washington and former head doctor at Washington State Prison, estimates more than half of all state, local prisons and jails outsource their healthcare industry, worth more than $3 billion a year. Yeah, that healthcare stuff is a money market scam. It's a money making market right there. So think about this. Now look at this. Federal prisons spending on outsourced healthcare increased by 24% to $327 million between 2010 and 2014, according to Justice Department report published last week. It surveyed 69 prisons and found that all of them paid more than for medical services than for Medicare rates. Look at that. With some prisons spend as much as 385% more. The Office of OIG report suggested that Bureau of Prisons explored potential legislative change that could help contain the medical costs. Way back in '85, it was $6.7 billion in healthcare. Now it's right now in 2013, $51.9 billion. That's a huge jump. Now, I'm gonna talk about the incarceration of females in California, and I don't think the practice has gone away. They'll schedule the inmate for surgery that they don't want and force them to take it to sterilize them. So to females out there who probably want to have children, if you're thinking about becoming a bad girl, you might want to rethink that plan. Unless you want to be sterile for the rest of your life. And one other thing, once it's done, it's non-reversible. You might want to rethink that. Just telling you the truth. You might want to rethink that. But like I said, they're making money hand over fist for this. They're making money off of you. And if you do ever get out, you will not have a family. I'm telling you, it will not work in your... Listen, I'm not being hard on male and female inmates. Listen, in life we have a choice, and we are the people are responsible for the choices we make. Does it sound like I'm forcing this down your throat? No, I'm not. I'm telling you, we all have choices in life that we want to make. Whether you like it or you don't like it. I'm going to tell you the unpleasant truth. All right. Among the healthcare representatives, Todd Murphy, Director of Business Development of Correctional Medical Group Companies. That's the largest medical private largest private provider of healthcare to jails or prisons in California. It's a company that provides healthcare. Serves 16,000 inmates across 64 detention facilities instead of juvenile halls, and 29 of California's 58 counties. Also runs the prison healthcare of 11 counties in Georgia, 2 in Texas, 4 in New Mexico, 1 in each Arkansas and Washington state. Business for us is terrific. Oh, one other thing I'm going to go ahead and say, and I want to make sure you are aware of this. The choices you make in life, you're going to pay for the consequences, okay? Just like the choices I make in my life, I'm going to pay for the consequences. So, if I choose not to violate the law or get contacted by the Leos, constables, deputies, or being detained and having a hook into me by these private companies to be, losing my freedoms, to having an ankle monitor that will vibrate and make noise, wake you up in the wee hours of the night, go for it and screw up. It's your choice. I'm not cramming this down your throat, okay? I'm telling you what's going to happen. They're going to make money off you. They're going to make your life a living hell. And you are going to wish you could just rewind and do things different. Excuse me. Business for us is terrific. We've been in business for 32 years. The last 32 years, we lost 7 accounts for all financial reasons other than another competitor undercutting us. But we got it all. We've got all but one back. See? They're counting on you to get detained. Then you go and see a judge in the court. The judge is making money off of you. Then both attorneys, the prosecutor and the defense, is making money off of you. Or making money off the taxpayers. And Murphy declined to state how much the company charges counties for its services, but it's typically not cheaper, but it's way better. So what point does it make when you go out and get in trouble with the law just for fun and out of the moment? We just want to go see your bestie behind the bars. They turn around, that hook from the private business comes down and latches right onto you. Your freedoms are lost. You wear an ankle monitor. They put cameras in your house. And that business clause, guess what? Moderated by them, operated by them, and guess what? You lost your freedom at your expense to give them the big piece of the pie, the financial pie. Not everyone agrees. An analysis of the California Department of Justice data by Fair Warning found about 200 inmates deleted under the care of California Forensic Medical Group, another arm of the CMGC, operated by the state at the hands of the taxpayers. It works out a death rate 1.7 per inmates in CFMG jails. All right, compared with 1.5 in other jails. The company is facing a class action lawsuit in Monterey, California over medical and mental health care failures, which preliminarily agreed that it and the county will pay a $4.8 million settlement. But they're going to pay that back to the state, not to the taxpayers. not to the individuals. Very good thinking, fools. Your voice been heard. The victim of a crime has no rights. The inmate has more rights than a victim. Welcome to Brave New World. Welcome to the new world. Don't you wish the old world would return, where victims had rights, offenders faced the harshest, cruelest punishment? Everybody, the kids, the children, they don't understand. Well, they've been brainwashed by the flat screen TVs, by the subscription model from cable companies to have them paint the world in their own narratives to have you feel sorry for the inmates, but to the victims of violent crime, they get ignored. Did you know that? So I'm talking about a very inconvenient truth that affects the society as a whole. Common sense that once used to be a treasure now it's become obsolete. So to speak, it's become obsolete. It becomes so obsolete. And I'm going to go ahead and cover that, okay? The lawsuit alleged CMFG provides deficient medical care in nearly in every respect of inmates fail to receive timely, appropriate treatment, resulting in unnecessary and prolonged pain, suffering, and worsening of their condition, sometimes even deletion. Well, you know what, inmates, had you not committed a crime, had you not gotten detained by the Leos, had you not, acted like a mule and not do your dues and pay the price to keep yourself from getting into trouble and then having the case dismissed, then you could have your freedom back. You know what? This is on you. I hate to tell you this. Every inmate or former inmate needs to watch this video and acknowledge what I'm telling you. You know the system here. You know this criminal justice system. It's not about rehabilitating the inmates. It's about making money off the inmates' wrongdoings. And it's about fattening the pockets of the private corporations out there running the unit. And fattening the pockets of the privatized healthcare company who don't care about the inmates. They want to keep people sick longer. They want to make money off of your problems instead of rehabilitating the inmates. And the inmates, you're at fault for going out and doing stupid stuff. You play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and you are going to pay more for the stupid prizes that you have gotten. Do me a favor. Step outside of your comfort zone. Take a good hard look at today's criminal justice system, which is basically a joke. All right? It's a joke. It's basically a joke. Oh, wow, look at this. Death rates, deletion rates at jails are using as company doctors and nurses lower than if not provide figures. Well, of course not. They ain't gonna tell you the exact figures. They're gonna protect their bottom line, their pocketbooks, the money. Listen, follow the money and it'll lead you to through the rabbit hole. The people, okay, people who come to our facilities are sick. No doubt. It starts at home. It's the parents' job to raise their children. And thanks to feminism, the ideology that promotes sowing wild oats and being promiscuous, chasing bad boys and getting knocked up by bad boys, and then turn around, these very bad boys or the children of bad boys go right through this ringer called justice system. Think about this. They go through the justice system. What gives? And he said they don't know how to take care of their hygiene. Of course not. They're dependent on the drugs that the federal government pays to smuggle into the United States. Innocent people get caught with them. The Leos slap handcuffs on them. Take it to court. The judge gets paid by the taxpayers to read you your rights. Sentence you according to the law. That, guess what? The taxpayers and the lobbyists go in there and fix it to where the flow of money remains unchanged. Look at the flow of money. It'll take you through the rabbit hole. We like to think the mortality rate is lower, but these people are coming in sick, and a lot of these people are going to pass with some things that we can't control. Of course not. Just by reading that, they ain't gonna be some things they can't control. That's right. You got to think outside the box. You get incarcerated, ill, or sick, the medical company's going to make a profit off you at the hands of the taxpayers. All this stuff comes in the form of taxes. Look at this. And the main reason counties are choosing to outsource their jail health care is not to reduce data costs, but the comfort of knowing that a lawsuit brought up by the family of a deleted inmate would be brought against the company, not the country. So you understand why Biden ended federal contracts with prisons? I do not like the president myself, but you know what? He made a wise move. So did Donald Trump. He made a wise move to privatize prisons. Anyways, and it would be brought against the company, not the country. Again, who's making money off of this? Who's making off the lawsuits? Think about it. Who's making money off the lawsuits? The courts. We provide a full partnership to our country partners. The biggest thing we can do is indemnify the country against risk and reliability. We do everything we can to keep them out of trouble. Yeah, right. Really? And CMFG in California expect to take over the jail healthcare contract for Alameda County in California, which include Oakland and Berkeley, from Corazon Health, which is another private healthcare company making money off of inmates through time served in privatized prisons and jails. It's the largest private prison healthcare provider in the country. 8-year contract was worth $250 million, which the administrators pocket biggest part of the greens. All right, last year, Corazon and Alameda County paid out $8.3 million to a family of Martin Harrison, who died being jailed on warrant, failure to appear in court on charges of driving while under influence, and being arrested for jaywalking. So you think it's bad? They're arresting juveniles for mocking a principal, mocking a teacher. Does that offend you? It should. It should offend you. I'm sounding an alarm on the prison crisis in America. But yet, many people down south of us, in New Mexico, all the way down in South America, are looking at the United States as a cash cow. You might want to rethink that because you're going to soon, guess what? Get captured, be put into a detention center for immigrants. And guess what happens? They're going to separate the mothers from the children and follow right into 1930s Germany. And to every politician that promotes open borders should be arrested, have their assets seized. They should have their cars auctioned off and money returned back to the Department of Treasury. All assets, stocks seized, cashed out, sent back to the Treasury of the United States to be applied to the national debt. Last year, okay, and anyways, his family lawyer said it would have been spotted on if he had been admitted to a registered nurse, not unsupervised licensed vocational nurse provided by Corazon. It was the largest civil rights wrongful deletion settlement in California history. Oh, looky here, look what I found for y'all to check out. Over the past 5 years, Corazon been sued more than 1,300 times, according to analysis by the financial research firm Privco. Follow the money into the rabbit hole, my friends, my viewers. Follow the money. Alongside several wrongful death lawsuits, Corazon also faced legal action over um, bedroom fund misconduct with a doctor and nurse, including a female employee who paid inmate for bedroom fund. Now you know they had to redo their contract for employment to prohibit this. Lawsuits haven't stopped CMGCG and Corazon from steadily increasing earnings for their private equity owners over the past few years. Corazon's revenue has grown by 15.6% over the past 3 years to 1.55 billion in 2015, according to analysis by the Guardian by Privco. Oh my goodness. Aren't you seeing this? Every inmate do jaywalking or failure to appear in court. So guess what? The judge makes money at the hands of taxpayers. Prosecutors, defendants make money at the hands of taxpayers too. Follow the flow of money. This is not about rehabilitating people. All this is nothing but a zoo. They capture people, treat them like wildlife that they are, throw them in here, make money off the hands of other 99%er of taxpayer money. So, Privco estimates that CMZG was rapidly acquiring rival companies to expand beyond its California stronghold, made revenues about 110 million to 120 million last year. Look at this. Look at you. Look at here. Look ye here. Look ye here. Cornerstone is owned by Chicago-based private equity from Beacon, Petty, O'Keefe and Company. All right. CMCG is owned by HIG Capital, Miami-based private equity firm with 19 billion of capital under management. And did you know this? Companies making the most money from prisons in America are GEO Group and Correction Corporation of America, CCA with combined run more than 170 prison detention centers. CCA made revenues of 1.79 billion up in 20 to 1.65 billion in 2014, and GEO Group made revenues of 1.84 billion, a 9% increase from the previous year. Well then, but it's not all about the money, Wayne Dickey says, the president of AJA and jail administrator of Brazos County. Well then what is it about? Look, you know what? We just read the increase in revenue from the private companies that are held by private investors. If it ain't all about the money, then what is it? You're downplaying it. Look at this. He's downplaying it. One of the key goals of his tenure is the association reduce jail mortality rate. Really? He warned that jail administrators and county officials across the country need to ensure private healthcare contractors are working as hard in the interest of inmates and their families as they are bottom line for their shareholders. Oh wow, look at that, shareholders. To the future inmate in the making. I hope you are watching my video right now, because the path you will pay for your future will determine whether you're going to be a slave to the shareholders in the stock market. Follow the money. Follow who controls who. And CCA and GEO Group, they're incarcerating more and more and more people to make a profit off of you. This is not going to end well. I'm sounding an alarm to warn others of their own fate. And no, I am not pushing my beliefs down other people's throat as some allege. Those that allege that needs to go and grow some skin. As I said, just follow the money. I want the association to take a role in, to reducing mortality in jails. Really? Then we regarded at AJ, it would be striving to get it down. Dick said mortalities are high as people in jail having drug and mental health related illnesses. Who's responsible for this? The federal government, CIA, the FBI. They're paying these drug cartels to bring drugs across, get more people addicted, to keep the shareholders rich. And the inmates are blind to see what's going on right before their eyes. Do you want freedom? Make better choices. Which contributes to a large number of jail deletions. We at least need to give another attention to say what we can do, he said. Yeah, right. 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 Yeah, look at this. Look at this. And Louisiana has the highest incarceration rate. The Did you know that? And Texas is second, along with Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Arizona, along with Alaska. We need to bring better. We need to bring better choices that we make in life. We need to bring better choices. It's not going to get any better. So I'm going to go ahead and continue reading here. And I'm going to mask some of these words. Deletions have been the leading cause of going to sleep, taking a dirt nap in jail since ever 2000. In 2013, recent year, which BJS statistics, okay, 34% of jail due to deletion. Deletion rate is about 14%. By 2012 to 2013, that's 46 per 1,000 compared to 13 per 100,000 as a population as a whole. And so look at this. Who pays for these healthcare professionals? Taxpayers. Think about this. Who pays for this? Think you thought it makes sense for prison service like laundry and catering to be outsourced to private contractors? So the stakeholders are in the investment firms. They make the money off of inmates. They're not here to heal them. They're to milk them for every dime they can get out of them. He did not believe that it was appropriate for healthcare to be run for profit companies at his 1,089 person capacity jail in Bryan, Texas. I run my own healthcare. Have a physician, 10 nurses, and a healthcare professional, he said. He said that jail administrators and county officials had to make sure that people in custody and their family aren't taken advantage of from for-profit deals. Inmates that are or people that get locked up are in this parole system. You made your choices. You'll suffer the consequences. And you have a chance to make it right. Don't go out and commit a crime. It doesn't, listen, you think you're being cute, but the bad thing is you're aging as a human being. And you're turning down business prospects that could help make you money. I mean, you are limiting yourself to what you can do in life. All right? He said jail administrators, county officials had to make sure that people in custody are not taken advantage of, okay? And officials need to be vigilant, avoid a fresh prison outsourcing scandal following outrage over inmates and families being charged up to 14 cents, $14 per minute to call their loved ones. $14 a minute. $14 a minute. He said he was not fond of prison healthcare privatization. He did not believe it was necessary. He said sweeping privatization across the country did not necessarily make life in prison more dangerous for inmates. What makes it dangerous is we don't put enough money into it, period. Well, it should make people who wants to commit future crimes, it should open your eyes. Do you want to be in that? You want to be in that cell block with the inmate, being a cash cow for the shareholder? Be my guest. And when a private company comes in, we don't give them enough money, and they don't provide good enough care. So So that also happened in state-run prison. And my belief that lack of money causes death in prison, really? No, the inmate's choices cause death in prison. Listen, listen. Let's cut down the chase. All right, let's cut it down. We're gonna take a good look at this. Now, what has actually happened? People go out, commit a crime, such as not having insurance on an automobile, getting to go to court to become a cash cow for the judge, cash cow for the prosecutors, cash cow for the assistant district attorney, the DA, and the defense, to be a cash cow for the court reporter to prepare the transcript of the court hearing. Listen, you can, people can stop this in its tracks. All right? People can stop this. So think about this. The prison, look at this. The prison health care ultimately affects public health. Public have this perception: you go to prison, you don't come back. Hey, you're hooked into the penal system. The lawmakers make money off of taxpayers. The prison makes money off of taxpayers. The federal governments are pulling out of contracts with these detention centers. Guess where the cost is going to be shifted to? If you said taxpayers, you were right. 98% of prisoners rejoin society. They bring all disease we have in jail back with them: hepatitis, HIV, mental health problems. Mm, 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 mm. Follow the money. Follow the money. Look at this. How private companies are profiting from mass incarceration. Look at this. Mass incarceration is unjust. It's big business. They're making money off of this. Look at this. As we know, no accident from our prison and jails have been filled to bursting over the past 40 years. American imprisons are more people than any other nation on the earth. A staggering 25% of all world's incarcerated are behind bars in the U.S. This lock 'em up culture has its roots in alternative theory, another theory, tough on crime laws that started back in the 1970s. But here we are, almost 50 years later. Studies show that mass incarceration doesn't make us safer. With political leaders on both sides, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, without agreeing that criminal justice needs to be transformed. How? How are you going to transform it? Yet mass incarceration is still with us. What's the reason for that? Did you hear me when I read on a previous article? I said follow the money. Boom. Look on the bottom here. We think there's billions and billions of them. All right? Let's be clear, mass incarceration doesn't work. We don't need it. In fact, between 2005 and 2016, 38 states cut crime and their incarceration rate simultaneously with so much agreement throwing people in jail and in prison every only way to keep our community safe. The Prison Policy Initiative has studied mass incarceration from every angle almost 20 years. They issued a report in 2017 concluding our country spends almost 182 billion on locking people up. That's a lot of money to spend on something that doesn't work. So guess what? The federal government ends the contract, shifted to private businesses that makes profit off it, of a mass incarceration, as I read before. Okay, maybe it's all a matter of how you look at it, because while the system causes great suffering for incarcerated people, their families, and their communities, there are others who think it's working just fine. Private businesses that provide services like food, health care, for example, to prisons and jails, are making billions of dollars from mass incarceration. Guess what? As I said in a previous article, it's going to the flow of investors in the stock market. They're making a huge fortune off of your wrongdoing and crime. So if you don't want to, and also the major slogan that was being pushed across billboards: if you don't want to do the time, then don't do the crime. That is a message we need to send to everyone. But yet, young people think it's fun and games, want to get into this system that doesn't work. And can they come to find out, man, I lost a lot of freedom. It's a misery. It's a profit off of misery. And which sounds to us like a strong incentive for them to make sure millions of Americans keep getting locked up. There's no surprise when these businesses spend so much on lobbying lawmakers. Oh, yes. Did you know the people we elect to Congress are being influenced by lobbyists? And who are these lobbyists being paid for? They're being paid for private corporations to influence the politicians against the taxpayers. No, I'm not cramming this down your throat, okay, my friends? I'm just speaking the unpleasant truth that you need to know and hear. And they support policies that will keep prison populations high. Really? An overwhelming majority of Americans of all political affiliations and backgrounds believe we need to reform the criminal justice system. Politicians are coming around the same idea. You know what? Wave of newly elected prosecutors, even many police chiefs, also support reform. But the bottom line is that locking lots of people up is making lots of money for lots of business, so change will not be easy. Look at this. There's a price on everything. To the people that are watching this video, there's a price on everything. Yes. It depends on how you want to put it into action. There's a price on everything, okay? There's a price on your personal choice and consequences of your personal choice. There's a price on everything. All right, let's take a few industries that benefit from the other people's misery. Bail bonds. So guess what? As American prison population has grown, so the bail bond industry. And as it pulls about $3 billion in profits every year. Almost an increase in incarceration stirred up pretrial detention, locking up illegally innocent people that they await trial. Mostly people are in jail only because they can't afford bail. Low-income defendants and their families often turn into a bail bondsman who can pay the full bail amount once they receive the non-refundable fee. Where does that non-refundable fee goes to? Who makes money off of that? The bail bond industry collects about 1.4 billion in non-refundable fees every year. Isn't it interesting? Driving many families deeper into poverty. Listen, poverty is a curse. All right? The industry, of course, works hard to thwart reforms. Private companies, bail bonds, they join together as a united army front to avoid reforms. Telecommunications joined that group of people who don't want reforms. Monopolies are long considered a big no-no in business, but when it comes to prison phone companies, monopolies are standard operating procedure, which telecom company love this arrangement, which has helped push the value of the entire industry around 1.2 billion it runs the cost of incarcerated people and their families. Charging more than $1 a minute is common. Some states see price approach $25 for only a 15-minute call. At these sky-high prices, low-income families often have to decide between talking to their loved ones and paying their bills. There's the price for everything, my friend. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Crime doesn't pay. It just makes you a cash cow for the investors. Food and commissary suppliers. Supplies like food, beverages, hygiene products go to prison or jail commissaries is a lucrative business, bringing in at least 1.6 billion across the country every year. There's no such thing as shopping around for the best price when you're incarcerated. Did you see that? There's no, you know what? And so inmates have no choice to buy what's in stock at whatever price listed, which could be as much higher than you would pay in stores. Prisoners earn so little behind bars that families have to send money to make up the difference. As prison food, companies like Aramark make millions of dollars in profits, supplying meals about 600 prisons. The money keeps coming in even when they do a terrible job. This is horrible, y'all. Follow the money. See where it leads. Healthcare. Jail and prison healthcare system is a giant mess. It's a giant mess. Well, that's true if you look how effectively it tends to the health of people behind bars. From perspective of profiteering, however, things to be going pretty well. Companies like Cortisone, which is raking in 1.4 billion every year, are profiting from sick prisoners, despite having a dismal track record when it comes to making sure they get well again. People before profits. That should make you wary right there. People before profits. We have a criminal justice that's criminally low on justice. And when we have multiple industries that have risen around and take advantage of that system and turn profits on the back of those who caught up in it, the inmates, you see? the drive for let's see, the drive for exploiting inmates knows no limits. These days, you don't have to be locked up to be taken advantage of. Defendants are being charged for the use of electronic monitoring devices. Believe it or not, 49 states charge former inmates for the cost of their own incarceration. Guess what? The state's making billions of dollars off of this ankle monitoring. We need to transform the system. We need to know. We need to do it now. Now, time to put people ahead of profits. How can you do it? You got all these companies working together. So, August 5, 2020, private companies producing with U.S. prison labor in 2020. Prison labor in the U.S. Part 2. I haven't seen a Part 1. But see, people don't understand the lobbyists are the ones behind this. The lobbyists are influencing the lawmakers to benefit the shareholders in the financial firms that owns these other companies that turns incarceration into profits. You see where I'm going at with this? And many people want to cry about Chinese prisons. Prison labor is a central part of the United States prison system that exists today. Exploration of the issue brings to light perverse economic incentives that propel the carceral complex. Private corporations are incentivized to lobby for policy to maximize prison population in order to sustain a business model only profitable because they can exploit artificially deflated labor costs. Over 4,100 corporations profit from mass incarceration in the United States. These corporations include private prisons, which hold viable government contracts featuring minimum bed guarantees at a fixed price per customer paid. Private corporations that stock overpriced commissaries and provide telephone service. Private companies using prison labor in their supply chains. Are you awake yet? Cheap prison labor is a very powerful labor market incentive against criminal justice reform. Everybody talks about they want to do this. They don't want to do this no reform. The built-in low-cost workforce benefits prison industry, which relies on undercompensated labor to keep operation costs low and sell cheap goods to government agencies and private companies. Companies that source prison-produced goods or themselves subcontract labor from prison also benefit from the lower labor cost. And I'm over here trying to sound the alarm on this. And this is going to actually, I'm trying to open your eyes to what is going on around the United States. All right. So yeah, this is crazy. This exploring the use of prisoner labor during the COVID-19 pandemic. They make everybody wear a mask. They're using fear. And over the current form of prison labor in the United States today, there are three main kinds of prison labor: in-house labor, the production of goods for sale, and work release programs, all funded by the taxpayers and the former inmates. However, some form of exploitation can also be found in rehabilitation programs and immigration detention centers. So when I talk about the immigrators wanting to come to the United States for a better life and stuff, you're going to be looked at by the Leos and you're going to be arrested. You're going to be detained. Then you're going to be hooked right into the United States detention system. If that's the chance you want to come over here to send money back home, your chance of getting arrested is very high. You know, they say that the United States is a land of opportunity. Why not become a citizen of America and work like the rest of us and keep money right here in a local economy to help keep everything. In-house work is most common and involves work within correctional facility, including assignments in food service, cleaning, laundry, groundskeeping, maintenance, custodial services. Yeah. Prison industry for production of goods for external sale. Guess who makes money off of that? The private companies. They make money off of this. Around 63 inmates produce goods for external sale. Some of these goods are destined for government agencies. Some for private market. Prison industry ranges from farm work and manufacturing to call center distribution serve every state except for Alaska. As a state-governed prison industry initiative for the federal government runs a separate program, Federal Prison Industry Trading as Unicorn. All right, guess what? You think the so do you think being an inmate in the detention center is really healthy? No, it's not. Okay? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and read this here to you. Work release. States also operate work release programs which provide inmate labor to private company to off-site locations. Inmates eligible for these programs usually destined at minimum risk offenders who are near the end of their sentence and require a program to support to transition them back into community. Well, are they going to be monitored forever? Are they going to have to wear an ankle monitor bracelet? I can't answer that. I'm not incarcerated, so I don't know. See? Many inmates in work release programs work at poultry plants, other agricultural facilities under hazardous conditions. In Oklahoma and Mississippi, this kind of work is not restricted to inmates. Oklahoma uses defendants sent to rehabilitation programs to process chickens at a private facility for no pay. So, who makes money there? The private company, private facility pays the detention center the money. The inmate doing free work, free labor, at the expense of themselves, their own, a practice that ACLU of Oklahoma is challenged as a class action. Mississippi has a restitution program where it sends people to work off debts owed to the state by acting as a temp agency for a number of industries. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk about the illegal immigrants. And, hey, I hate to tell you this. In pretrial defendants, civil detainees cannot be forced to work under 13th Amendment loophole allowing corrupt ideology as a punishment for crime. They have not been convicted of crime. However, FID centers rely solely on labor of civil illegal immigrant detainees to lower their operating costs. So, to the people who want to come move up to the north for large money, a large wad of greenback to send back home, you got that bullseye target right on you. Or anyone coming in from another country, you got that bullseye target on you by immigration and customs officials. They're looking for people that are not U.S. citizens so they can make profit off of you. Your choice. The large prison corporation running these centers like Core Civic and Geo Group are currently facing lawsuits alleged they employ deprivation schemes. Okay, to those who want to come to the United States illegally, you're putting your own life in your own hands of these corporations, where they detain immigrants who are forced to choose between living without basic necessity or working for sub-minimum wages, and then are threatened with punishment for refusing to work. I'm telling you, they're making money off of you. They're making money off of you. Follow the money. For Christ's sake, follow the money. Public information on prison and labor supply chains. Due to lack of transparency in corporate supply chains and the inaccessibility of state revenue data. Oh, guess who else is making money? The states are making money, so there's no reform for criminal justice. It's generally difficult to trace the goods service produced by prison labor. Difficult. Wow. The exception are the goods produced through Federal Prison Industry Enhancement Certification. You know, PICP, which for data on prison labor projects publicly available, right? Asher-Sumner Act of 1935 prohibits the sale of eminent produced goods in interstate or foreign commerce. Private corporations can establish joint venture with correction agencies to produce goods certified under PICP, which are exempt from these restrictions. There's a loophole in there. Listen, to those who are out there violating laws, you're going to get hooked up in this. And you know what? You're going to be that cattle to bring the cash to the shareholders. They don't even know you. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. Okay? PICP certification requires that correctional agency meets certain criteria, including that inmates laborers receive local prevailing wages. But PICP programs nationwide ignore or openly violate these requirements. Aren't you getting the picture? For example, Florida's prison rehabilitation industry in diversified pride has divided hundreds of hours of training programs, which workers are paid depressed wages. Even workers are paid the prevailing wage. PICP allowed prison industry to deduct up to 80% of inmates' total earnings for taxes, room and board, and restitution. Inmates are a criminal committer, crime committer. People that are involved in going to jail, getting arrested and going to jail, aren't you even looking at this? You're awaiting trial. You're hooked into this criminal justice system. And you think you're losing freedom right now? You don't know what you lost once you get detained by these private companies that are running these prisons. Look at this. Let me highlight this. PICP allows prison industry programs to deduct up to 80% of inmates' total earnings for taxes, room and board, and restitution. To whom? Restitution to whom? The shareholders or the states? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. National Correction Industry Association, NCIA, or PICB Technical Assistance Provider publishes quarterly statistical reports about the program. So, who's funding the program? The taxpayers. We receive NCI reports that list every PICP private sector project from fourth quarter of 2019 in which incarcerated workers participated during this period. PICP projects employs 5,070 inmates operating out of 219 work centers nationally. You know what the work centers are? If you said prisons, you were right. The majority of projects from 2019 took the form of state correctional industry selling goods. For example, Georgia Correctional Industry employs 236 inmates in 7 projects producing goods, including signage and furniture, as well as providing moving services. Where's the money going? Back to the shareholders of the private prisons. In Florida, Pride employs 390 inmates in 10 projects to produce dental products, eyeglasses, cleaning supplies, and food products. Where's the money going? Where's the money going at? It ain't going back to the taxpayers, it's going back to the private corporations. My goodness. While some correctional industry only sell to state-affiliated organizations. Oh, wow. Universities. Others like Minnesota Department of Correction will sell products to private companies through lucrative contracts. Okay, 2018, MnCore alleged had a contract with Anagram, the largest balloon manufacturer in U.S. worth $9 million next year. 111 inmates continue to produce colored party balloons for MnCore, according to NCIA's database. Largest contracts such as coupled with correctional industrial wage between 50 cents an hour to $2 per hour allow MnCore to make a profit over $13 million in 2019. MnCore's partnership with Anagram demonstrates another important fact about PICP. Prison labor chain more bold. They supply chains more boldly. Also, PICP certification has more stringent reporting and transparency requirements. The NCIA's quarterly report still lists projects names rather than corporate partners, the shareholders. These project names contain veiled or completely obscured references to their corporate partners, such as writing MindCorp rather than explicitly naming Anagram. What about the private shareholders of the prison complexes that are owned, operating under the private business model? The shareholders, you see where I'm coming out with this? major corporations also distance themselves from being implicated in prison labor by engaging in subcontracts with companies who then contract with prison itself. For example, NCIA database tells Plastic, Minnesota-based plastic company that at least 26 inmates worked from Minnesota prison in 2019, where database doesn't tell us that. Plastic is a manual supplier for Fujitsu, a leading global information and communication technology company. Aren't you getting the picture yet? Aren't you getting the picture yet? By operating through subcontractor, many corporations are using prison labor can shield themselves from identification. Aren't you seeing the picture yet? Escaping public scrutiny while reaping the economic savings offered by cheap prison labor. Should this make you mad? It should. And with the entitlement mentality of wanting what somebody else has worked for, you need to go and get your own job and work and make your own dreams come true. No one owes you nothing. And committing a crime, this is what you'll be doing right here. This right here, what I just read, prison labor, and being exploited. Oh my goodness. Oh, we're just getting started now, folks. In the table, we compile all lists of all corporate partners we could identify from NCIA's 2019 fourth quarter report. Our incarcerated workers help produce goods in wide variety of industries, from wire harness made by Semitronics, Kaufman Engineering, Electrics Incorporated, and Onshore Resources, to agricultural products made by Dickinson Frozen Foods, Landis Cooperative, Great Plains Manufacturing, Molly Manufacturing, to clothing made by The Graphic Edge, Impact Design, Gelt, Prison Blues, Craig Industry, Badlands Quilting. Even though PIECP projects represents only a small fraction of prison labor industry, the sheer variety of companies engaged in PIECP venture hints at pervasive corporate presence lurking in the shadows of mass incarceration. By bringing at least some of the corporation profit cheap prison labor into public eye, which we hope to encourage reform for prison labor to protect the rights of inmates and remove some of the perverse incentive this cheap labor supply currently creates. They're not going to do that. You're taking away money from the shareholders. You're taking away money from the private businesses. You're taking away money from the top who receives the fat cash cow from the cash cows. So, now, look at this. Gem Glow Trailers, Utility Cargo Trailers, inmates 14, Arizona. Playcraft Trailers, Metal Utility Trailers, 30, Arizona. Semitronics LLC, Wire Harnesses, 102, Arkansas. Big Dog Manufacturing LLC, evaporator coils used in air conditioning units, 3 in California. All Wire Incorporated Circuit Boards, 23, California. Do you have a smartphone? Inside you got a circuit board. Guess what? It was made by prison slave labor. And they raised the prices up high to make a profit off of us consumers. If that is offensive, it should be offensive to you. Because I'm speaking the unpleasant truth. Married Partners, Electronics Remanufacturing, 13, California. Dickinson's Frozen Foods, processing potatoes into can. Processing potatoes. 49 inmates in Idaho. Kaufman Engineering Wire Harness, 95, Indiana. Rain Incorporated, small item cases, 68, Indiana. Graphic Edge Screen Printing, 37, Iowa. H&H Trailers, Steel Trailers, 55, Iowa. Jetco Incorporated, Trailers, 11, Iowa. I'm going to put this in the description, let you see what it is. All right. Landis Incorporated, grain handling, make grain for your cows. Man, the corporation making profit hand over fist. Lomont Molding LLC, plastic molded parts, 35, Iowa. PDM, precast concrete products, Iowa. Aren't you? Riverbend Industry, custom injection molded parts, for everybody to soup up their cars or medical parts for hospitals, Iowa. Electrics, wire harnesses for vehicle, for vehicles, TVs, almost everything you can think of. All right, that was in Kansas. 113 inmates. Great Plains Manufacturing, agricultural equipment. The farmers got to pay a premium price. Guess who makes the big money? The shareholders. 16, Kansas. Hubco Incorporated, cloth bags. 7, Kansas. Impact Design, sports apparel. 184, Kansas. Coke & Co. Incorporated, wood doors. 19, Kansas. LPF, high performance coating, sewing, painting, welding, machine operators, 27, Kansas. If this don't make you sick, I don't know what else. Molly Manufacturing LLC, agricultural equipment, 42, Kansas. Pioneer Worldwide, balloons, paper goods, 48, Kansas. Red Barn Pet Products Incorporated, pet products for dogs or cats or whatever you got, 12, Kansas. Seat King LLC, transportation seating for buses, 92, Kansas. Anagram, decorated party balloons, they sell that to big chains like Walmart, other retailers. 111, Minnesota. Plastic Corporation, plastic product assembly, 126, Minnesota. Gelt, sewing, 5, Montana. This should make you mad. But remember, if you go do the crime, you're going to do the time, and you're going to be assigned to doing this stuff right here. Now, Sims Fishing, wading boots, Montana. Baleen Manufacturing, grinding, welding, Nebraska. Millert Lumber, cabinet, drawer boxes, Nebraska. 1. Tech Brands, scrapbooking, paper, cutting, dyes, 62, Nebraska. Tornado Safe, metal fabrication product. They make storm shelters, 67, Oklahoma. Prison Blues Clothing, 60, Oregon. Craig Industry Incorporated, golf shirts. Those you like golf shirts, go golfing. Thanks to prison labor in South Carolina, 40. Midcon Cable Company, electronic cables, 82, South Carolina. Badlands Quilting, textile, apparel, furnishing, 8, South Dakota. Metalcraft Industry, truck suspension, boat docks, miniature lamps, windows sashes, fence stakes, 46, South Dakota. Henderson Control Incorporated, brass valves and fittings, 49 Texas. Onshore resource, okay, circuit boards, wire harnesses, 21 Texas. Next Hill, manufacturing assembly, 98 Utah. If this don't make you mad, then you should rethink. You should rethink committing a crime and being hooked into this. Seriously. The table show PCIP corporate partners identified from NCIA's 2019 fourth quarter report. These companies are only a fraction of many private companies relying on the labor of people in U.S. prisons. Anyways, there's some people that love getting incarcerated in prison, but they don't realize that in the U.S., incarceration is almost common as breathing air. It's common. After all, right here, breathing air. After all, U.S. incarcerates more people than any other country in the world. That's why incarceration is so common here. Yes. The answer is complicated. It involves looking at the transformation of slavery, colonialism, classism, other things across. However, one undeniable factor is now that in the U.S., incarceration is a booming business. The shareholders are making money that hand over fist. So much that in 2018, the Sentencing Project reported that U.S. has the world's largest private U.S. population. Private prison by no means behind mass incarceration as a whole. America's love incarceration so deeply entrenched that if you imagine every state its own nation, Massachusetts has the lowest incarceration rate in the U.S. would still rank 9th in the world. As long as someone can make money off of locking others up, it's big business. There'll be motivation to keep those cages around, even build more. Whether digital or physical, let's be clear, there's a lot of money in private prisons. 27, the Prison Policy Initiative reported that government pays private companies around $4 billion a year to operate prisons. After you read this, you may be left with some questions like, what makes prison private? When did the first private prison open? Who are the biggest players in the history? Let's break it down. Well, there are two types of prison, U.S., public, and private. You can trace the roots of private prison back in the 18th century. The model we know today, though, hasn't been around long at all. The conversation at Brett Barkhart, OSU, Oregon State University, wrote down a modern private prison that have existed since the 1980s. You know what? Shut down jail. They're making money. Their shareholders are making money. You can go out there and you can protest all you want. You can protest all you want. They're making money. They're opening up vulnerable inmates to programs to extort them financially. Practical terms, there isn't much separating the private prison from public ones. They both incarcerate people like the public counterparts. The private prisons can operate at a local, state, and federal level. The difference between them is one is the responsibility of the government, while the other is contracted out to private companies who are paid by the government to keep the facilities operating. You want to protest something? Tell the inmates to quit committing crimes and get with a program to go into work, help lower the unemployment numbers down, and get the economy boost going. When a private company win contracts after the government opens up the project to bids, the government sees bids like a continued contract with contract with the company. Amount is often dependent on how many people are incarcerated in that facility. The contract rate may be based off the average length of time being served in that facility. Once a contract is signed, the private company that takes over responsibility for managing the facility, it has to hire staff, keep the facility stocked with supplies, provide programming for inmates and everything else. The private company also assumes all legal liability for facilities they manage. So let's say an incarcerated person is abused in a private prison in Minnesota. The person sues, they are suing the company that runs that prison, not the state that they were incarcerated in. So by looking at this, the taxpayer's on the hook to hire the company to come in, run the unit. The inmate sue the company. The taxpayer money goes to the inmate, which is in turn, guess what? It keeps the. Look at this. Look at this in mentally. Look, I'm drawing this in your mind. It's a flow of money. It's a flow of the money right there. This is how things happen. And these companies go out and get contracts from the federal. In theory, how it would work. In reality, two companies dominate the market. Geo Correction Corp of America, is now known as CoreCivic. All right, these two firms claim to control about 3/4 of the private prison industry per marketplace. And look at this. What's the problem with private prisons? Proponents of private prisons often claim they're cheaper than public alternative. This debate is few reasons. First, private prisons tend to be picky about whom they incarcerate, so they keep their costs low. As Marquardt wrote, anecdotal evidence suggests that private prisons avoid people with greater health needs instead of preferring to keep those inmates. The cost associated with a medical care is on the government's tab. And look at this. Stop caging families. Listen, if you want to stop caging families, stop crossing the borders of the United States illegally and getting caught. Stop coming over here to think you can walk into another country and think you can, you know, you're going to get caught committing a crime. You're going to pay the. You're going to do the time. Offloading costs onto others actually coming with private prisons. Let's stick with the healthcare as an example. In 2010, Private Correction Institute, a citizen watchdog group, responded with a joint report by the Reason Foundation and Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association advocated that 25,000 incarcerated people in California to out-of-state private prison. The report claimed doing so would save $1.8 billion over 5 years. However, PCI wrote in a press conference that the report exaggerated per diem rate, failed to consider how private prisons save money by offloading costs in writing. Medical costs for California inmates held in private prisons are capped at $2,500 per prisoner. The state must pay medical expenses above that amount, plus treatment costs for who are HIV positive. It is what it is. It is what it is. So think about this for a long haul, okay? It all comes back to central issue that private prisons are trying to make max money off of putting people into cages. They're also rife with issues. People formerly incarcerated in private prison are twice likely to report being, victimized by staff as people in public facilities. For addition, the Sentencing Project reports that highlighted that past studies found, altercations, including physical ones, private prisoners can occur at double the rate of a public ones. So just by looking at this here isn't looking good at all. This should wake you up. How common are private prisons? In the same report, Sentencing Project stated that 128,000 people are incarcerated in private prison. That's not a small amount of people by any means. However, less than 10% of the 1.5 million people incarcerated in states and federal in the U.S. Still, private prisons receive a lot of attention in the media from politicians, and some way abolishing them is seen as something like a silver bullet. Part of it is because they're an easy target. There are plenty of people who are comfortable with incarceration but don't like the idea of firms making money from it. Listen, if you are comfortable being incarcerated, then don't be the wood for the fire to burn. Don't. Private prisons are a popular target because their abolition wouldn't disrupt the whole system. But look at this. I don't want to talk bad about the prison, okay? I don't want to talk bad about them. It's all about making the money. The shareholders are making money off of the inmates. Did you know that? But that doesn't mean that we should talk about abolishing private prisons. It's important to remember they can't be blamed for everything wrong with the carceral system. As a person policy caution, private prisons should be seen as field-driven mass incarceration, but rather as a parasite that happily latches onto the U.S. pre-existing problems. It's a parasite. How's the private prison industry changing? It's not. Private prisons aren't firm-running detention facilities around. Perhaps the most concerning areas of growth for private companies is immigration detention. People just crossing over the United States illegally, hoping to, go out and commit crimes or try to go get hired and do all kinds of criminal activity. You're going to get caught up in this. Did you know that? Immigration detention. Are you willing to come to the United States and get... I just read the prison labor. And they're going to do this to the detained immigrants. So you know what? You're better off in your own country looking for work and making the best of what you got. Why come over here and put yourself into the hands of these private companies? It's not going to work. 80 of them are held in facilities operated by private companies. Numerous reports of abuse have come out of such facilities. And they're privatized. Beyond simply operating facility, private companies profit off of carceral institutions in almost every way imaginable. It's like a piecemeal privatization, focuses on private prison companies, misses the fact that public correctional institutions are also essentially privatized. Aramark and Trinity are two biggest food service companies contracting with prison. The shareholders, they make money off it. Privatization of food comes from at the detriment of incarcerated people. You don't want to be a part of this? Don't commit the crime. Look in your own home country to see if you can find a job there. Please, for the love of God, stay out of the United States prisons. And they're not reporting that they're doing immigration detention, slave labor. Do you want to be a part of this? Then by all means, come on across the border. And you look at those companies, they're in it to make a profit. Don't want to talk bad about the companies. It's all about money to them. If there's where they can feed the prisoners products that are lesser quality, they will. And it's important to keep in mind how private companies will always find ways to profit if they're given a chance. The arrival of President Biden, a Democrat, into the White House, many hope it would signal the potential demise of private prisons, at least deal a severe blow to the business. However, Marshall Project reported these companies aren't afraid and said they have plans to adapt. Look at Core Civic, which started buying up residential reentry centers, more commonly known as halfway houses. Oh, wow. Did you know they bought that up? Per Marshall Project, Core Civic has two halfway houses in 2014, operate 29 by November 2020. You know, and Louisiana has the highest incarceration rates. But are those prisons operated by the state or are they operated by private means, private corporations? Think about this. Who gets paid money? Who gets paid money? Who makes money off of the inmates? Look at this. Earlier this year, I attended a prison trade show in Louisiana, which has the nation's highest rate of incarceration. Charity representatives from Crossport, a Kentucky-based company that demonstrated bendable electronic cigarettes. They are sold in prison and commissaries. Chatted with the employees of Wallace International, which makes an automatic front gates for jails. Sentinel, which makes ankle braces for track parolees distributed by slick handouts. couple more hundred exhibitors were packed into 224,000 square foot space at a New Orleans Convention Center. Okay, a space larger than 3 professional football fields, including end zones. It was an educational scale of the industry profit of America's incarceration system. Okay, right here. Part of the industry that was much discussed earlier, the Department DOJ announced it would phase out the use of private prisons. Private prison, both state and federal, represents a small slice of the $80 billion spent yearly on correction. They house about 231,000 inmates in 2014, compared with the 1.4 million inmates locked up in government-run facilities private because private prison companies routinely lobby Congress for lengthier prison sentences. Federal government's announcement was seen as a modest victory for criminal justice reform advocates. Long-term goal was to end mass incarceration. But the company's historic incarceration boom has given rise to companies that provide services, product to government prison. Many of these provide necessary equipment and service. Of course, some do in rather unsavory ways. All right. For instance, prison phone industry, a market that's dominated by several large privately held firms that earns an estimated $1.2 billion a year. Short phone calls from prison cost up to $15. Largely because the company operates a monopoly within the prison walls. Private companies offer free state and local authorities a percentage of their revenue, which contributes to surging costs of calls and creates other perverse incentives. Some jails, for instance, have remove in-person family visitation room to make way for video visitation terminals to provided by private firms, which can charge as much as $30 for 40 minutes of screen time. Now, look at that. One prison phone company, Securus Technology, says marketing materials that it paid out $0.3 billion in so-called commission over the past 10 years. And did you know these videos are often intercepted and stored in a database for future reference? Huh? They also record videos. If you can't do the time, then don't do the crime. All right? In some respect, this is worse than the private prison companies. Peter Wagner, Executive Director of Prison Policy Initiative. All right? I expect the government to waste money, but it's totally different for a government to collude with a private company than make poor people lose money. So, prison phone companies are hardly the only private vendors that capitalize on capitalist market. Corson Health, one of the sponsors of the Louisiana Prison Trade Show, is one of the country's largest prison healthcare firm. It treats more than 300,000 prisoners nationwide, earning about $1.4 billion in annual revenue. Taxpayers pay that. I told you that earlier. Also subject to numerous investigation and lawsuits, the company has been named a defendant in at least 660 malpractice lawsuits over the past 5 years, according to the ACLU. I've already read this here, so I don't have to reread this. But I want you to take a deeper look at this. All right? I want you to take a deeper look at the problem here. People don't realize the private prisons are making money hand over fist by caging more and more and more people to help feed the cash cow to the major shareholders of the stock market. Now, with that being said, I'm done with this video.